What if the ultimate Hollywood fairy tale wasn't quite what it seemed? Imagine a young actress who grew up dreaming of marrying a world-famous movie star, only to end up in a whirlwind of paparazzi, red carpets, and a controversial belief system that changed everything. Katie Holmes and Tom Cruise were once the most talked-about couple on the planet, until the dream began to unravel. Were they truly soulmates, or was there something deeper behind the romance and its sudden collapse? Let's dive into the full story and decide for ourselves. Katie Holmes and Tom Cruise once captured the imagination of Hollywood fans worldwide. Their whirlwind romance seemed to play out like a grand cinematic love story, complete with lightning-fast engagements, red carpet appearances, and global headlines. Yet, behind the dazzling smiles and public declarations, rumors persisted that their relationship was more complicated than anyone realized. Now, over a decade after their split, Katie Holmes has finally given insights into what really went on, especially concerning Tom's ties to the Church of Scientology. In this revealing narrative, we will journey through the beginnings of their romance, the rapid progression that led them to the altar, the cracks that formed behind closed doors, and the final events that ended in a shocking, yet strategic, divorce. From improbable courtship to alleged legal restrictions on post-divorce life, here is the untold story of Katie Holmes and Tom Cruise. Katie Holmes and Tom Cruise had vastly different roads to stardom. Tom Cruise's trajectory as a leading man launched in the early 1980s with roles in films like Taps and The Outsiders. Audiences recognized his undeniable charisma, and he quickly gained traction as a bankable up-and-coming talent. But it was risky business that turned him into a household name. In the iconic scene where he slides across a living room floor in socks and underwear, Tom Cruise became synonymous with youthful energy and effortless charm. His superstar status climbed even further with Top Gun, making him a worldwide phenomenon. Throughout the late 1980s and into the 1990s, his roles in Rain Man, A Few Good Men, Jerry Maguire, and Mission Impossible showcased his versatility and raw star power. By the turn of the millennium, Tom Cruise was more than just a movie star. He was a cultural icon. Meanwhile, Katie Holmes was carving out her own path, albeit on a smaller scale, through television and a few feature films. Born and raised in Toledo, Ohio, she gained widespread recognition playing Joey Potter on the teen drama Dawson's Creek. That role turned her into a familiar face for audiences around the world. She branched out into film with titles like Disturbing Behavior and Go, exploring different genres. Though she never reached the same pinnacle of fame as her future husband, Katie was already well known to a devoted audience. In a 2004 interview with 17 magazine, she publicly expressed admiration for Tom Cruise, even admitting that she once daydreamed about marrying him. That wishful comment at the time seemed like the playful fantasy of a young actress. Little did anyone know how quickly it would transform into reality. Fast forward to 2005, and Katie Holmes had just ended her engagement to actor Chris Klein. As fans and tabloids buzzed with questions about her breakup, she made a cryptic mention of a phone call in which she told someone she loved them, insisting it was simply her mother on the line. Not long after, Katie and Tom Cruise made their very first public appearance as a couple in Rome. Tom was in town to receive a prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award, but the spotlight quickly shifted to his new relationship with Katie. The speed of their courtship, combined with the timing of their respective film releases, War of the Worlds for Tom and Batman Begins for Katie, ignited speculation that this sudden romance might be a publicity stunt. Tom, however, poured fuel on the fire by enthusiastically proclaiming his love for Katie on national television. In that now famous Oprah Winfrey Show segment, he essentially hijacked the interview to gush about how wonderful Katie was, culminating in his infamous leap onto Oprah's couch. That moment immediately went viral, sparking a mixture of adoration, curiosity, and skepticism among viewers. Comedian Seth Rogen would later comment that Tom believed the producers of the show had edited the footage to make him appear more frenzied than he actually was. Regardless, Tom's public devotion to Katie dominated headlines for weeks. Tom and Katie's public displays of affection continued at breakneck speed. They seemed to invite photographers to capture every kiss, every hug, every romantic dip. At first, people found it charming that this couple was so unafraid of showing their emotions. But as the spectacle grew, whispers circulated that it all felt more like a performance. Katie, still in her 20s, looked starry-eyed next to a man who was already one of the biggest stars on the planet. And Tom, having gone through high-profile relationships with actresses Mimi Rogers, Nicole Kidman, and Penelope Cruz, had never been quite this bombastic in his demonstrations of love. Katie's childhood dream of marrying Tom Cruise transformed into reality almost overnight. In earlier interviews, she had hinted that she was determined to become part of Tom's elevated circle. She admired the director Steven Spielberg, who had collaborated with Tom, and Penelope Cruz, Tom's ex-girlfriend. Katie was not shy about her ambition, nor did she apologize for being drawn to a world of top-tier Hollywood success. Then came the grand, whirlwind proposals that served as the hallmark of Tom Cruise romances. After a mere 2 months of dating, Tom proposed to Katie at the top of the Eiffel Tower in Paris. By that time, paparazzi had been following their every move, so the announcement at a press conference was no surprise. Katie gleefully brandished her engagement ring, and Tom called Paris the perfect place for such a significant milestone. As though that were not momentous enough, only 3 months later, they revealed Katie's pregnancy. Their daughter, Suri, arrived in April 2006, completing the final piece in what seemed to be a fairy tale story. Beneath the glossy surface, however, was a crucial detail that would have a tremendous impact on their marriage: Tom's devotion to the Church of Scientology. He had famously been a member for decades, crediting the organization with helping him navigate the challenges of Hollywood and life in general. Katie had been raised Catholic, though not devoutly so, and had made no public statements about Scientology during her early career. But once she and Tom became a couple, she was quickly associated with Tom's religious beliefs. Many fans watched, intrigued or concerned, as Katie's stance shifted. One day, she was telling reporters that she was not a Scientologist. The next, she was announcing her excitement about taking classes and fully embracing the church's teachings. Adding to this complicated situation was the rumor that the Church of Scientology had a hand in orchestrating Tom's personal life. According to various reports, including a Vanity Fair expose, the church allegedly initiated a search for a suitable partner for Tom after his relationships with Nicole Kidman and Penelope Cruz ended. They supposedly even auditioned actresses, inviting them under the guise of casting calls or approaching them because they expressed admiration for Tom. Katie's 2004 17 magazine interview, in which she said she dreamt of marrying Tom, put her on the church's radar. Before long, she was introduced to Tom, and so began their rapid journey toward marriage. During their early relationship, Katie was often seen accompanied by a Scientologist named Jessica Rodriguez. Many people, including journalists, presumed Jessica was Katie's manager or personal assistant. However, it emerged that Jessica belonged to an elite wing of Scientology and had been assigned to be Katie's chaperone, friend, and potentially supervisor. Jessica sometimes answered questions on Katie's behalf, particularly those about religion. When Katie suddenly announced she was converting, the seeming contradiction from her earlier statements raised eyebrows, and Jessica's presence fueled speculation that Katie was being monitored or guided to keep her on message. By November 2006, the couple's nuptials were in full swing. They opted for a lavish wedding in a medieval Italian castle, an event that drew A-list celebrities from across the globe. The ceremony included a 20-minute Scientology ritual, replete with the standard vow to resolve any disagreements before going to bed. The guest list was a who's who of Hollywood power players: Will and Jada Pinkett Smith, Jennifer Lopez and Mark Anthony, Brooke Shields, Jim Carrey, and Katie's new best friend, Jessica Rodriguez. Tom's best man was David Miscavige, the leader of the Church of Scientology. Isabella and Connor, Tom's children from his marriage to Nicole Kidman, were also in attendance. Fireworks lit up the sky to close out the ceremony, giving the entire affair the aura of a fairy tale. Designer Giorgio Armani, who created Katie's wedding gown, described the event as astonishingly beautiful. Despite the grandeur, small cracks in the facade had already begun to appear. Observers noted that Katie often seemed guarded in public, while Tom remained effusive and intense in his praise of Scientology. A Vanity Fair report claimed that prior to meeting Katie, Tom had briefly dated another woman with strong Scientology ties, only for that relationship to end abruptly if it did not meet the church's standards. Though some called the rumor speculation, the pattern was undeniable. With the arrival of Suri, Tom and Katie set out on the next phase of their journey. Publicly, everything seemed rosy. Magazine covers showcased their baby pictures, and Tom spoke glowingly about the experience of fatherhood. Katie, too, called her life as Mrs. Tom Cruise, nothing short of incredible. But behind the polished veneer, dissatisfaction reportedly simmered. Questions emerged about how much independence Katie had, both personally and professionally. Some critics insisted that her identity was overshadowed by Tom's stardom, while others pointed out how unusual it was for her to change her entire belief system so fast. Little moments began to leak out that hinted at Katie's hidden concerns. Tom made headlines by announcing that he had purchased a sonogram machine for personal use when Katie was pregnant, planning to donate it later to a hospital. Medical professionals bristled at the idea, warning about potential risks of repeated sonogram use at home. Meanwhile, stories trickled out about the tight control Scientology might exert over a newborn's environment. Actress and former Scientologist Leah Remini later wrote about witnessing a bizarre scenario at Tom and Katie's wedding involving baby Suri and a few caretakers speaking to the infant in an oddly stern manner. Each strange anecdote added up to a sense that life under Tom's roof was anything but normal. By 2010, rumors circulated that the relationship was under strain, yet Katie continued to tell magazine interviewers that she felt lucky to be Tom's wife. Observers noted that her public pronouncements remained positive, even though the couple rarely appeared in public together by that point. Some guessed that Katie was attempting to hold the marriage together for the sake of their daughter, or possibly out of concern for how a high-profile divorce might affect her career. Suspicion deepened when it emerged that Tom had never successfully maintained a marriage beyond the point when his spouses turned 33. Nicole Kidman was 33 when she and Tom split, and so was Mimi Rogers, Tom's first wife, if one looked at the timeline. As Katie approached her 33rd birthday in 2012, tabloids speculated that the pattern would continue. Whether coincidence or something deeper, Katie indeed decided to file for divorce around that time. What shocked everyone was how prepared she was. Katie reportedly orchestrated the filing with quiet precision. She hired multiple law firms in various states, likely to prevent Tom or the Church of Scientology from discovering her plans prematurely. She used a burner phone, supplied by a friend, to speak with her attorneys in secret, and apparently, her father, a lawyer, had been instrumental in drafting a prenuptial agreement that was deeply protective of Katie's interests. Sources claimed that the document filled 5 entire banker's boxes. The result was that once Katie officially filed, the divorce went through at unprecedented speed, taking a mere 11 days to finalize. When their divorce was announced publicly, Katie's attorney released a statement characterizing it as a private matter and emphasizing that Katie's priority was her daughter's well-being. Tom's representatives expressed sadness, emphasizing that he cared deeply for all 3 of his children and hoped for privacy. In the final settlement, Katie received no significant lump sum payment for herself, but was granted substantial annual child support for Suri, reportedly around $400,000 a year, plus full coverage of all her expenses, including medical, dental, schooling, and extracurricular activities. This arrangement would continue until Suri reached adulthood. Another intriguing piece of the puzzle was the rumor that Katie had agreed not to publicly discuss Scientology, Tom, or their marriage for a 5-year period, nor could she publicly date anyone else in that time frame. These claims were never confirmed by official sources, but they circulated widely in entertainment media. Right around the 5-year mark, Katie was seen in public holding hands with actor Jamie Foxx. That fueled the suggestion that she had adhered to an agreement to keep her personal life private until a specific date passed. One of the saddest parts of this saga was Tom's alleged estrangement from Suri. Once father and daughter were tabloid fixtures, from the day Suri was born to the many times they were photographed traveling as a happy family. But after the divorce, sightings of Tom and Suri together became almost non-existent. Reports indicated that Tom had not been directly involved in her upbringing and was conspicuously absent from key life events such as her high school graduation and her college application process. Sources noted that if Katie left Scientology and Suri was never raised in the church, there might be pressure on Tom to distance himself from them. Scientology's policy toward those who depart, known as suppressive persons, often encourages existing members to cut off contact. In a lawsuit against Bauer Media in 2013, Tom addressed allegations that he had abandoned Suri, calling them false. When asked whether Katie left him to protect Suri from Scientology, he sidestepped a direct answer, referring to the speculation as mere assumptions. He did admit that both Katie and Suri were no longer Scientologists, but claimed that did not necessarily mean he was prevented from seeing his daughter. Katie, for her part, refocused on motherhood and personal growth. She described living in New York City as a single parent and how she found small acts of kindness from ordinary people to be a lifeline. She shared moments like a late-night taxi ride home with a sleeping Suri in her arms when the driver helped her carry the child inside. That was the kind of everyday support she came to cherish. She also found ways to get back into acting and directing, but always on her own terms. Without openly condemning Tom, she occasionally hinted at having endured periods where she doubted herself or felt overshadowed. When Suri approached college age, speculation grew about Tom's potential involvement in his daughter's next chapter. Reports suggested that Katie was heavily involved in helping Suri apply to colleges, covering all the details of selecting schools and filling out applications. Although Tom was still legally required to pay for Suri's tuition, it did not appear he was playing a visible role in guiding her. Meanwhile, Katie expressed a mixture of pride and sadness over how quickly her child had grown up, noting that she missed the days when they were inseparable. Overall, the Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes story remains a striking example of how a Hollywood romance can hide immense complexities. While their relationship began with genuine enthusiasm, especially on Katie's side given her longtime admiration for Tom, it became intertwined with the spotlight, Scientology, and power dynamics. When the honeymoon phase wore off, Katie pivoted to a position of self-preservation. She planned her legal exit carefully, minimizing public drama and securing her daughter's well-being for the future. Tom resumed his career in blockbuster films, maintaining his allegiance to Scientology, but rarely addressing his private life. Although he occasionally refers to his devotion to his children, the conspicuous absence of father-daughter photos with Suri has led many to assume their relationship remains distant at best. The question of whether Scientology drove them apart persists. Katie's swift and secretive approach to the divorce filing, paired with the church's reputation for closely monitoring members, suggests she might have felt she had little choice but to leave with as little confrontation as possible. She has since kept a low profile when it comes to discussing the marriage. Even in interviews where she opens up about personal growth and motherhood, she tends to speak indirectly. Phrases like listening to herself and trusting her instincts are read as coded references to her time with Tom. If she did have to sign an agreement limiting her ability to speak out, that might explain why direct references to Scientology are few and far between. Still, there is no denying the unique place this union holds in celebrity lore. Few Hollywood love stories have been as public, as criticized, or as dissected. Some fans who once rooted for the charming, high-energy Cruise and his sweet, girl-next-door wife were disappointed to see the abrupt end. Others believe Katie Holmes' escape demonstrates her courage and unwavering devotion to her daughter. Speculation endures about how different her life and Suri's would have been had she stayed. Today, Katie appears confident about the path she has chosen, embracing smaller film roles, occasional television appearances, and endeavors behind the camera. She maintains that she is content raising Suri in a relatively normal environment, away from Hollywood's more intense circles. Tom remains a global movie star, turning out new installments of Mission Impossible, among other big-budget projects. He seldom addresses his private world, especially regarding Katie, as though acknowledging that the public's interest will inevitably stir controversy. Ultimately, this story serves as both a cautionary tale and a fascinating chapter in the annals of celebrity romance. What begins as a Hollywood fantasy can morph into a complicated reality once questions of faith, public image, and personal freedom emerge. Katie Holmes' revelations, scattered though they may be, hint at a marriage overshadowed by external pressures that few onlookers could fully fathom. Despite their differences, both Tom and Katie have moved on in their own ways, yet the reverberations of their short-lived but sensational union continue to captivate fans who still wonder how a woman's teenage fantasy of marrying Tom Cruise turned into one of the most analyzed divorces in modern Hollywood history. This saga stands as a cautionary tale and a captivating celebrity story rolled into one. Though Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes are now separate individuals pursuing different paths, the echoes of their whirlwind romance linger in Hollywood lore. It is a story of dreams realized and then dashed, of a faith that both inspired and alienated, and of a woman who ultimately found the courage to walk away from an icon and reclaim her own narrative. In the years since, Katie Holmes has stepped into the light on her terms. Tom Cruise has stayed true to his beliefs, and their daughter Suri has grown into adulthood under her mother's vigilant watch. For better or worse, this extraordinary chapter in celebrity history has become an enduring point of fascination, illustrating how even the brightest stars can dim under the weight of hidden pressures, and how, sometimes, the greatest act of love is to break away. After all these twists and turns, do you believe Scientology was the real wedge that tore Tom and Katie apart? Or was the rapid-fire pace of their entire romance simply unsustainable? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time,